I get asked why podcasts all the time.
Yeah.
And my answer is, well, Steven said I needed to, and there was no other CPAs doing this. And that's pretty much true still.
Yeah.
I'm Jamie O'Kane, CPA, Small Business Advanced Tax Planning and Compliance Extraordinaire. And this is the Abundant Beans Podcast, the podcast that takes my love for learning what makes people tick while digging into the good, bad, and ugly of small business ownership. We strive to give you the insight that only those in the trenches of being and working with entrepreneurs can provide.
So new niche, well, I would say you kind of inspired me to niche down.
Did I do that?
You did, with your veterinarians.
Yes.
Yes.
I love our
So it
veterinarians.
kind of made me think, what is something that I'm really passionate about and something I know? And then instead of casting my net so wide, let's start narrowing it down so that I can focus on really helping an industry that I'm passionate about and love. So fitness, I mean, it's my entire life.
Let's talk about the key elements for effective marketing, right? So there's usually people are missing something, but what are those?
No, I actually started a new podcast called Naked Marketing. It's all about the marketing mistakes. So we're actually going to have a marketing mistakes summit. So we're going to get everybody's mistakes all in one shot. But the fundamentals is you have to have a target, and you have to know what their problem is that you solve, and you have to be in their world constantly giving them advice about that problem. So that's really the fundamentals. I call it, I've coined it super niching. So it is like picking just one industry or interest group to focus on at a time and picking their most expensive problem to teach, so that your marketing becomes educational marketing. And then you never have to ask for a sale after that. Jamie, all you do is show up in front of them and keep talking about how you've solved that problem for other people in their same boots, in their same industry. You never have to once ask for a sale. They're like, please help us, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So human-to-human marketing, in my opinion, is the experience and interaction one faces with a particular brand. And so in our particular world that we're in most businesses will hear B2B or B2C. And though I don't disagree that B2B and B2C is still a necessary part of business, I think businesses, though, need to start incorporating the H2H marketing, because if you don't incorporate the H2H marketing, in my opinion, what's going to happen is that people are going to get left behind. Our businesses are going to get left behind for those businesses that choose to implement H2H marketing. So again, creating that human experience and interaction with a brand. I'll give you an example. When I was first found out I was pregnant with Finley, one of the things that I craved was these muffins, and you got them at this beautiful Italian restaurant here in Brisbane, Australia. And they're like massive, massive muffins filled with blueberries and raspberries. And I've always drank Diet Coke. And so when I first started getting the cravings is I would go to this place called Tognini's, and I would go in, and at the beginning I would just order, like, can I have that muffin and that Diet Coke, and nothing really changed. But as I kept going back, it was like, oh, what's your name? I'm Angela. How far along are you in your pregnancy? So far. And then so on and so forth. And then that relationship. But again, it wasn't just the relationship. It was their ability to incorporate human-to-human marketing. Every time I went in there was an experience and an interaction that I was able to have with these people. So then Finley came along, and they're like, oh my goodness, how are you, Finley? Blah, blah, blah. And then they started to create the same thing. I was like, oh, I want to keep going back to that place. And then Chloe came along. So now Finley will be 11 in August. So I've technically been going there for 12 years. And I figured out middle of last year that I've probably spent close to $25,000 buying muffins and Diet Cokes over this time. Now, what's changed though is we're actually a 40-minute return trip to where, like 20 minutes each way, obviously, to where they go. But because my kids go to that suburb for school, and even if not Saturday mornings, we still wake up even on non-school days and drive there to get the muffins. So that's an example of human-to-human marketing. That I can probably get a muffin down the road that would take me 2 minutes to go and get. Their muffins don't taste as good as they did before. I think they're cheaping out on the blueberries and raspberries now. But the thing is that we keep going back, and we have for 12 years. But again, they could have just created the experience, but not an interaction, and it wouldn't have been the same. They could have created an interaction and not the experience. It would have been the same. But they've not only created an interaction, an experience for me, but for my children. So we keep going back. So
women-owned veterinarian clinics.
Right. It's extremely specific.
Women-owned veterinary practices in the United States.
Yeah. And so when you're that specific, you can do some pretty interesting things. You know, like you can create a book with a title that is something like Advanced Tax Planning Strategies for Women-Owned Veterinary Clinics in the United States.
It's in process right now.
Nice. And guess what that does? That calls out exactly who you want. So when you put it in front of them to try and get them to raise a hand and show some interest in that, because not all female veterinarians that own their own clinic are going to be interested. Some of them don't care about that. Like, I'll send all my money to the government, but some of them are going to be like, wait a second, this Jamie girl, I need to know her because I want to keep more money.
Yeah.
And you're looking to see which group they're in, right? So you might send them a letter or put an ad in front of them or send them a postcard that offers this free book with that amazing title on it, right? And all of a sudden you've got all these leads coming in. So it allows you to do that. Whereas if you just sent a book out that was Advanced Tax Planning Strategies for Small Business,
it's so generic.
Yeah, it wouldn't mean anything to anybody.
Well, and also I'm learning in the veterinary space as I learn more people or as I meet more people is they don't really like the word business. They run practices.
Practices, yes. The thing that we see over and over that totally trips people up is that they're impatient. And so they'll try a particular marketing strategy. They won't get anywhere close to mastering it. They'll try it 1 or 2 or 3 times. Then they'll go, oh, that didn't work right away. Let me try the next one. And then the next one doesn't work right away. And the next one, and the next one, and the next one.
Yeah. And where do people usually go wrong on those?
They kitchen sink everything. They list everything. They like, we do this, we do that, we work with this, like they just list the who and the what. And it doesn't work because confused minds don't buy. There's a horrible statistic that says 86% of buyers can't tell the difference between 2 suppliers. They really can't.
True.
Yeah.
So true.
They just try to base it on price, and price becomes their biggest determinant of quality. And then people are constantly trying to undercut the price to be more competitive, which works the opposite way in psychology, right? You don't see a Chanel trying to undercut, Target.
That's crazy.
Right. So yeah, that's usually what goes wrong is that it's too generic.
And then those of us that are trying to differentiate, we spend a lot of time really confused about what. Stop asking me for tax returns. Like that's my current pain point because people are just like, okay, I need my tax returns done. What's your price? I'm like, that's not what we do because they assume we're all H&R Block or whatever.
The reason why it's still relevant is 1, people are still doing them in Zoom rooms and breakout rooms for virtual conferences. And 2, it's your one-liner that you need in LinkedIn messaging or social media messaging when people say, what is it that you do? So you have to be able to convey very quickly and concisely in a one-liner what it is that you do. 1 line, 1 sentence. So yeah, it's super relevant because as you'll see on the show, when people show up and they have a very generic elevator pitch, it's a mirror into their strategy, that they don't have a differentiated, niched strategy that's based on a specific specialty. So you will find out very quickly from hearing somebody talk about what they do. Within 30 seconds, I wrote another book. I've written 4 books. It's called How to Make Anyone Like You in 7 Seconds or Less, because Harvard University found that it takes less than 7 seconds. Like you already decided whether you think I'm competent or not. So it took 7 seconds for you to decide that, right? And for me, and likewise.
I love that.
So that's why an elevator pitch is still so relevant.
I always think about advertising properly done is actually a way to solve problems by promoting products that are solving problems.
I love it. Thank you so much for listening or watching. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, or wherever you prefer to listen. If you learned something and found some useful information to apply to your business today, please consider giving us a thumbs up and a review. Until next week, be abundant.